Biden's wrecking crew is destroying what's left of the U.S. economy. So in this episode, I'm going to address the question, why is Biden's Build Back Better plan failing? Yeah, if you haven't realized this yet, it's not succeeding, and I'll explain some reasons why it is not succeeding. It's actually failing and destroying or wrecking the U.S. economy. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I just want to alert you at the beginning of this particular episode. This is not a political agenda. I speak all over the country. I've been active in economics and business now for more than 48 years. And I've watched many different presidents of both major parties and Congress that controls executive, the legislative branch with Congress. And I see fiscal and monetary policy that has been passed for one reason or another. And once you understand some of the basics, I'll explain here, you can almost guess who was the primary power between the legislative branch and the executive branch of the government at any given time based upon legislation that was passed. But right now, a lot of people have been asking me my take on Biden's Build Back Better agenda and why it doesn't seem to be succeeding. And anybody with a basic understanding of economics will realize why. But this is not a political agenda in this episode. I'm just going to share with you my take based upon my background and information and why it's not going to get better. In fact, I think it's going to get worse. Let's talk about sort of the situation that existed in the United States of America when Biden was elected in 2020 and he took over in 2021. We were just hitting the major hit of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. And of course, in order to stimulate the economy, to keep people going while they were unemployed, we spent about twice as much money as the IRS collected in revenue. Now, that's not new, but this was much greater than normal periods where the government spends more than what they bring in. So the IRS collects about $4 trillion in revenue in taxes, and they refund about $800 billion of that in tax refunds. And so they bring in a net income of $3.2 trillion, but they spent more than double that with the stimulus packages and so forth. Well, they hope that they'll get that revenue back or whatever. Well, when Biden got elected, he and of course the Democrat Party, because he's a Democrat, they saw the opportunity using COVID as an excuse to pass a lot of spending, things that they want. And of course, progressives like bigger and bigger government. And they have initiatives of, health care for all, free college tuition, free preschool, and all of these things that cost a lot of money. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that just Medicare for all and free college tuition each will cost American taxpayers over $100 trillion each in the next 10 years. So if you divide $100 trillion by 10, that's $10 trillion a year. And that's 3 times as much money as the IRS collects in taxes. So where is the money going to come from? And on top of that, they're passing all of these different things, saying, oh, this will really help us to be able to change America. We're going to build back better. Sounds great, doesn't it? Well, why hasn't it been building back better? Why do we have inflation, the cost of goods and services higher than it's been in over 30 years? Why are taxes going through the roof? Why is unemployment continuing to be there? And it's not going to get any better. So let's go through why Build Back Better is not building back better. It's actually building back worse. And this spiral of spending that we're getting into, the negative impact of these policies. Because I have another episode that talks about most politicians would flunk Economics 101, but they're making policies that affect our economy and they've never run a business before. They just think the solution to everything is spend more and more. And the way that you get the money to spend is by raising taxes or printing more money. Well, that has a negative impact that a lot of people don't understand. So get ready. I'm going to give you some insights that is going to blow you away. So in a nutshell, right now, the government is spending between 3 to 4 times what they're bringing in revenue. If you just do the simple math, and if you were making $100,000 a year and you were spending $300,000 to $400,000 a year, how long could you do that before you would be bankrupt? Well, the way the government tries to solve that during certain periods where they're in control, right now the Democrat Party is in control, so they want to pass a lot of these things that are going to be very, very expensive, and they just want to deal with it down the road. Well, the way that they pay for things is raising taxes. And that oftentimes destroys incentives of corporations. I mean, Biden is increasing the corporate tax rate from 21% up to 28%. Some people say that's only 7%. No, it's a 33% increase. On $1 million of profit, a corporation was paying $210,000 in tax under Trump. Now they pay $280,000, which is 33% more than $210,000. But a lot of people say, well, the corporations will just have to buck up. They can afford it. No, they can't. Many of them operate on profit margins of only 1 or 2%. And so corporations are forced to do one of two things. They either have to lay off people, change to automation, which means jobs are not being created, or number two, they have to raise the prices of their goods and services. And this year, most industries have raised prices as much as 15, 20% or higher. Even my CPA, my accountant, has had to raise his fees by 25%. Well, this is the result of inflation and the cost of goods and services going up. So it doesn't really build back better if you raise the minimum wage to $15 or $20 or $25 an hour. If that's gobbled up instantly at the gas pump or the hamburger stand, or when you go to buy meat, which has gone through the roof, or a used car, they've gone up to over 20%. So it's not building back better. But let's get back to the basic economics here, because inflation, when you print money, will actually cause the nation to become poor. It creates need because people are not able to buy as much as they used to buy. And so it doesn't do any good except get into this spiral. Now, before I explain something that just blows people away every time I do it, if this is intriguing you and you can think of somebody that ought to watch this episode, be sure and share by clicking on that link, or post a comment, click like. But most importantly, please subscribe to this 3Dimensional Wealth channel and click that little bell when you do, so you'll be notified every time I post a new educational video, which I do almost on a daily basis. I don't want you to miss out. But stay with me to the end. I want to gift you a copy of my 300-page most recent best-selling book called The Laser Fund. So here is something that a lot of Americans sort of get a deer in the headlight look when I explain this. When you have initiatives like free healthcare, college tuition covered by the government, or preschool or what have you, and they cost trillions of dollars, and the government says, oh, we can handle this. We'll print more money and we'll raise taxes. But the domino effect is that corporations then have to lay off people. Jobs are lost, unemployment goes up. But when they print money, all of a sudden there's more and more printed dollars and they become worth less. That's why, diamonds are sold by carats because they're scarce. But when you have an abundance of dollars, they become worth less. And so we buy dirt by the yard or by the truckload, diamonds by the carat. I hope that made sense, but here's the point. Under Trump, I think we had about 4 trillion printed dollars out there in America in circulation. Now I understand there's upward to 20 trillion. The government's been printing over 100 billion a month. That's an extra trillion every 10 months on top of just replacing worn out dollar bills. This is why we have inflation right now at an unprecedented rate, and they think they're going to slow down inflation by printing more money and passing 3 trillion of more spending. What are they thinking? Here is something a lot of people don't know. It's called the velocity of money. I'll simplify it. If there are $4 trillion in print, there is usually more like 100 trillion, let's say, that's actually going through the economy in a given year. And that's measured different ways, like the gross national product or whatever. Now, what do I mean by this? Let me say this. If there are $4 trillion in print, and we get those, and we put them usually in banks, credit unions. When you put money in a bank or credit union, and it's in a lended position, are they just a benevolent institution paying you interest, and they have it sitting in a vault? No. What are they doing? If we collectively put $1 million in a bank or credit union, they're paying what, 1%? They're paying $10,000 in interest, okay? They're going to loan that back out again. They're going to invest it. They loan it back. Let's say I want to build a house and it's going to be $1 million, and so I borrow $1 million from the bank or the mortgage division, and they charge me 5%. How much more is 5% that they're charging me than the 1% they're paying me on $1 million? It's not 4, it's 5 times. On $1 million, they're paying $10,000. They're earning $50,000. Would you hire an employee for $10,000 that made you an extra $50,000? Would you buy a widget machine for $10,000 that made you an extra $50,000? That's called a 500% return on employment cost or equipment cost. It's 5 times, but it's actually infinite because they're not earning it on their money. They're earning it on OPM, other people's money. So if you invest $1 million and it's not even your money, you paid $10,000 to use that money and you earn $50,000. It's really like an infinite rate of return. But it doesn't end there. If I borrow $1 million at 5% and I pay the general contractor and he pays his subs and the suppliers, what do all of them do with that $1 million? They loan it back to the banks and credit unions. People deposit it back in the banks and credit unions in their checking accounts while they're paying their bills. And so the banks get that $1 million back within a few weeks at 1%. They only have to pay 1%. They loan it back out again at 5, let's say. And in a few weeks, they get it back at 1. They loan it out again at 5, get it back at 1. They're making 500% rates of return on the average 17 times a year on the same dollars. That's why we have velocity of money. That's why you talk about 4 trillion of printed dollars actually may generate over 100 trillion with the velocity of money. Now, a lot of people don't even understand that. What happens if the government prints 4 or 5 times that much money? Those dollars become worth less, and maybe there's a hidden agenda because down the road they want to pay off that debt with worth less, dollars that are worth less, because then it doesn't cost them anything. Or maybe they change to digital and they get to decide what they are worth. I don't know what the agenda is, but folks, it is reckless and it is not building back better. It's building back worse. And unfortunately, a lot of politicians don't understand what I just explained thus far in this episode. So unfortunately, sometimes politicians are like a bull in a china closet. They are passing certain things, agendas, spending, and they don't realize the ripple effect and all the things that they're ruining while they're trying to get their agenda through. They latch onto a build back better, and then they wonder, well, why aren't things better? Why do we still have unemployment? Why is this still going on? They don't understand the ramifications or the domino effect of the loosey-goosey policies that they pass, looking for this and not realizing the domino effect. You give free preschool to kids and you just eliminated all of the preschools out there that operate as a business and all those teachers. Now they have to go out and find new jobs. You cut off an oil line and you just ruined 400,000 oil jobs. Sometimes they don't understand the ramifications, and that's why it's not building back better. So the point is, you cannot spend double, triple, or quadruple what you bring in revenue and then solve that by just raising taxes and printing money, because that will cause worse problems. So beware. If you want to take ownership of your brighter future and use one of my favorite vehicles for serious cash, which I call the Laser Fund, you ought to read this book and study it. This is totally tax-free so that when they raise taxes, you can be immune from the higher taxes. You can link your returns to the things that inflate, so inflation doesn't hurt you, it helps you. Does that arouse curiosity? Go to laserfund.com. This is my 11th book. It's 300 pages. It's been flying off of our warehouse shelves. But instead of paying $20 retail for it, I want to gift you a copy. So click on the link below, go to laserfund.com, and you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. Have some skin in the game. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I will pay for the book and fire it out to you. But check out also other options to listen and learn, watch and learn. But there is a virtual event we teach almost monthly called Retire by Design. And you can have your tuition waived and attend that at no charge if you go in and you get on that list so that we'll notify you. But here is to your brighter future, so you don't have to rely on the government. You can take care of your own predictable future the right way.